everyone and welcome back to the channel. I'm Kirsty and this is Stuck in the Mud. Thank you all for being here today and taking this courageous step in your healing journey from OCD and anxiety. In today's video, I want to talk about a situation that you may find yourself in. Why am I having a flare-up with my OCD and anxiety? And it can be really disheartening and discouraging when you have had so many weeks, months, maybe even years, in some cases where you haven't experienced any distressing symptoms from your OCD and anxiety. And please note, these setbacks are completely normal and temporary, so don't feel scared that it's here to stay. OCD is considered a chronic condition, and so symptoms can fluctuate over time. And you may have gone through treatment and seen a long-term reduction in your symptoms, but it doesn't mean you'll never experience it again. And 60% of people that have gone through treatment are likely to experience a flare-up in the next 5 years. I myself go through flare-ups, but I still consider myself healed to all intents and purposes, as it doesn't control me in the same way it used to, and I know when it's happening. I've developed my awareness over time as to when I'm getting pulled into OCD's false narratives, so then I can do something about it. Think of it like muscle memory. I don't exercise for a while, but when I get back into it, my muscles kick back in and they get stronger as to where they were before. Sometimes flare-ups feel like they have come out of nowhere. And then other times there might be a specific trigger that you're aware of. You will probably find yourself suddenly engaging in compulsions in a response to try and neutralize that uptick in intrusive thoughts. You might find yourself getting frustrated and ruminating on losing all the progress you've made this far in your recovery journey. You may have had a smooth ride in your healing so far, but just like you handle getting better in the first place, you will find it easier to identify future setbacks and gain awareness to if and when it happens again, so you can handle it better. And then that will just make everything so much easier in the future, because you know how you're going to deal with it. Then, it doesn't feel so scary if and when it happens again, because when it happens that first time, you're like, right, so everything I've done so far, it's just down the drain. I'm going to have to start all over again. Don't look at it like that. These are just setbacks. Healing isn't linear. There's going to be ups and downs along the way, and that is completely normal. I think it's good to make that clear, that it doesn't mean you've lost everything. So you might ask yourself, why have I had a flare-up? And there can be many reasons, but I'm going to discuss a few of them here today that are quite common reasons why that may have happened. Major life change is one of them. That can be things like marriage, having a baby, moving house, a death of a loved one, starting a new job, and it all comes with change, those scenarios, and a change in our routine, and it often carries a lot of uncertainty and stress, which is a big contributor to OCD. And it's one thing that I have noticed over the years when I have found myself having a bit of a setback. I'm usually going through a bit of a stressful time in my life, and it's become obvious to me when those times are happening now, so I can actually prepare if there's something. And it's not to stand guard in case it happens, because it doesn't always happen. It's not a case that every time you're stressed you're going to slip back. That's not the case. But if I'm aware in advance that I'm going through a difficult time at the minute, and to be compassionate with yourself and kind with yourself, that if those thoughts do start to creep up again, then I can handle it and I can get back on track with my healing journey. Another reason can be changes in our lifestyle, like changes in our sleep patterns, our physical activity habits, maybe our eating as well, because when we're not eating properly or we're not eating enough, we can find ourselves just slipping back into certain old habits, and we may find our intrusive thoughts start creeping in. Sleeping is a big thing for me, and I know when I don't get enough sleep that I often feel quite anxious, and I will often find myself feeling like I'm getting few more intrusive thoughts than I normally will experience on a day-to-day basis. I get intrusive thoughts every day. That is normal. And I think that's important to state as well. But I may find the pull a bit stronger on these days when I've not slept so well. So that's really important to mention. So it's really good to exercise good hygiene when it comes to sleep, and, just looking after ourselves, eating enough, eating the right things, and getting some physical activity. This is something that I've really delved into a bit more lately, and I may do another video around it, but exercise, I've noticed by walking regularly, I felt much better in myself mentally, and mentally stronger and able to carry out this work. And that is an important point to make. When we feel mentally strong and we can actually do the work we need to do. Another reason can be that you're going through or have gone through traumatic experiences, and they may trigger your OCD. Like maybe you've gone through an accident, a car accident, or you're going through some grief. Anything that can trigger dormant OCD. And that may appear in the form of a new obsession or even an old one. So you may find yourself getting triggered by social media. That is a big one these days. I often find there's many triggers. And in a way, I look at it now as an opportunity. So when I do get triggered, very much like exposure and response prevention, that I can let myself go through the motions of it, okay, that may have triggered me a little bit, but then I do the work needed with that. It's response prevention. Like, I don't have to respond to it in the same way. I can let those thoughts be there. I don't have to follow it and try and figure it out, because when you find yourself ruminating over it, you're already involved and you're actually putting effort in there. You don't think you are. It almost feels automatic, but we're actually putting effort into that. And it's only when you actually stop and kind of think, no, I'll just let that thought sit there, and that's fine. We don't push it out. We just think, because we often, sometimes when we see a trigger, we'll go, I really don't want to think about that. Please, why did I just have to see that? I was doing so well today, and that's just triggered me. And you can almost, you're just like, why? And our brain is going, oh, this is really important, so I really need to keep hold of this. And it just keeps coming back into our consciousness because we've latched onto it and we're kind of ruminating over it. So that's important to point out. If we can just let it sit there, don't engage with it, just let it be there as long as it wants, and it will fade on its own. And I practice that every day. Let me tell you that, like I said, I still consider myself healed. It's not the absence of intrusive thoughts being healed, it's just changing how we respond to our OCD intrusive thoughts and all the rituals that we may feel the urge to engage in. So another reason you may find that you are feeling a flare-up is maybe you've had a change in medication. Sometimes this can just change all those chemicals in the brain, and that's going to take some adjustment while we get used to a new medication. I've gone through this many times in my life. I hold medication for OCD and anxiety in high regard. It's really helped me out when I've needed it to. And I definitely feel like it's not the one thing that will help you get better. You have to put the work in and do all the changing of our behaviours and all the skill sets and tools we can learn through a psychologist. And I do hold a lot of importance in that. But I do believe that the medication, when I've needed it, has helped me to do the work and helped me to be mentally strong to actually go through the work and implement it. So I do often think, and I do believe, that having the combination of the two is really helpful when we're getting better. And if you don't choose to take a medication route, that's fine. But, this work, we can do the work on its own, and, we can get great results with that alone. But for me, when I've been in a really, really bad place, it's really helped me with a combination of the two. But everyone is different and everyone responds differently to medication. And that's an important thing to mention. But having a change in medication can often see a flare up in our symptoms, especially while we're going through that adjustment phase. But that should settle. And like I said, just implementing the skill set we may have learned will really help with that and getting us back to where we want to be in our healing journey. Another reason you may experience a setback or flare up in your OCD is comorbid mental health conditions. This could be like generalized anxiety disorder, which I suffer from, depression, PTSD. These can make us vulnerable to falling back into OCD patterns of behavior. And it's important not to see it as a step backward. It's just reminding us to strengthen that muscle regarding how we approach OCD and how we respond to it. So this is a great opportunity to practice sitting with that discomfort when we fall back into old patterns, and we can then use all the tools and skills we've learned to actually handle our OCD and anxiety better and actually move forward then again on our healing journey. We can get back on. We don't have to feel like we've fallen off the wagon. It's terrible. I'm never going to get back to where I was. That is not the truth. And that's just another intrusive thought trying to keep you back in the grips of OCD. But we can sit with that uncertainty. We just need to put the work in and sit with that discomfort of when we're not engaging with OCD intrusive thoughts, images, feelings, symptoms in the body that we feel, sensations, the urges we feel to carry out a ritual. We don't engage in rumination for hours on end. And when we've got that skill set, that's great because we can see all these setbacks as opportunities to move forward. But it's also important to notice that if you haven't gone through therapy and you may lack that skill set to actually manage these flare-ups, and you may have more of them because you don't have that same knowledge. So I really hope my videos are helping you, especially if you haven't gone through therapy, to see that there is tools that we can be using to actually help us live our lives free from OCD and anxiety's control over us, because I know how limiting it is to live that way. I did it for many years, and now I see OCD very differently. And I know, because I built so much awareness over the years of when I'm getting pulled in and when OCD is hooking me into its grips, because it holds a tight grip and it doesn't want to let go once it has your attention. So it's just the earlier we can intervene with that and go, okay, no, I know what you're doing. I know what's happening here. We're not going to push it away. We're not going to try and distract ourselves or ignore it. We're just going to let it hang out. And that has been, along with exposure and response prevention, but detached mindfulness, metacognitive therapy has been tremendous for me in my healing journey. And it just helps me to view it all completely differently and realize that I don't have to question everything OCDs. I don't have to answer all those questions. I don't have to follow it down that deep, dark rabbit hole to no end, because we know that's where it takes us. It never wants to give up. And like I said, the earlier we can just say no, the better, because we doesn't get such a strong hold on us and we can let it go much easily. And we will then obviously notice a reduction in the frequency of intrusive thoughts and the urge to carry out rituals. We won't find we're experiencing that quite as often because we're not giving it the power. We're taking that power back from OCD. So when OCD is holding all the power, it just controls us, and it's very hard for it to lose that grip. But when we can let it be there as long as it wants. It coexists with us, but it will disappear on its own. But we're going to feel some discomfort and anxiety increasing around that time because OCD is going to throw a tantrum. It doesn't like the fact that you're not doing what it wants you to do. But the more we can practice that with consistency, the easier and easier it gets. Believe me, because I've been there. I've been there many times, and I've been very frustrated and just completely overwhelmed with my life with OCD, because it's very scary and it's very frustrating when we don't know how we're going to break free from its clutches. But there is a way, and I really do hope my videos are helping you to see that. So let me know your thoughts on today's video, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.